Yes, up to a point.
Okay, so let me ask you this. We talked about Star Wars coming back, and things are different now in that, especially with the new movie coming out with Rogue One, this opens up the possibility they're doing a Han Solo movie of setting films at various points in the Star Wars mythology, which of course opens up the possibility for some of your characters to come back.
Oh, yeah.
What
it seems the Empire is very much in evidence. So maybe one day we'll be called back, summoned from the dead, I don't see why not.
Well,
to perform natural functions, if that's the right expression. But I have no news for you at the moment, but I've got my phone in my pocket.
So you are willing and available if that were to come up. Well, Ray, Darth Maul is officially alive again in canon. Right? You guys are amazing. Which makes it, even more possible. Maybe they could do something. I know you've been quoted as saying you'd love to, to revisit Darth Maul if you got the chance. Is that a possibility? Do you think?
There's always hope.
Yeah.
There's always a possibility.
Would you prefer to do a younger, sort of an origin story of Darth Maul, or you want to do later Darth Maul with the robotic legs?
Yeah, as long as it's me.
Yeah.
I actually thought Darth Maul was never coming back until I watched Clone Wars.
Right.
And I've said this before, but I said to my son, I said, buddy, Daddy's going to have to start training harder again.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to, it's like the golden carrot. And of course, I always think about coming back as Snake Eyes and how to do that. And it's nice to come back for a second time. And so I'd love to come back as Toad. I'd love to come back with all the characters because you've had time to digest, to think about it. And of course, I would love to be Darth Maul. I'd love to do it if it was me, and it better be me, I hope so. I'd love to do the shirtless, tattooed, it'd be nice. And I like what they've done in Rebels with the character as well. I like seeing that.
So you've been training?
I was
shirtless.
I'm training with Kinissa.
All right, so if you guys were able to revisit the roles, is there any particular period that you'd like to do? Ian, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. In the early days, before George decided to move on and sell the company, there was talk about that. There's no new information coming up, I'm sorry to say, about the evil emperor's backstory, because I imagine he was just a solid block of nastiness. But apparently, like us all, he had a troubled psychological childhood. So the only thing is, I am now too old to explore that. There's the irony. But I'm sure there are other actors around who could do that. Then maybe I can take over a bit later and so on. But that would be fascinating. But the great thing about the anthology series, Rogue One, etc., is that they're set during that period, when he's coming to grips with what it is to enjoy power. So there is potentially a lot to explore.
It seems like a series with the Emperor and Vader hunting down the Jedi, or maybe that would be pretty dark, but
yes. Well, there've been a few cartoon versions of the possibilities of that, which I think you've probably seen. And their relationship has been realized very well in comic terms, but I think it could probably be even more interesting in serious terms when they have, because they sort of have equal power, and when two people are sort of in that position, then a kind of rivalry naturally develops, so that would be interesting to explore.
Well, I know we're going to get a lot of Star Wars questions, so let me ask you one that's not Star Wars. What projects are you guys working on now? Since Star Wars, maybe we don't know about that, right? What do you have coming up?
Nothing, I'm unemployed.
What's that possible?
I'm working on myself.
You don't have anything in the hopper, huh?
There's hopefuls, there's possibilities, and there's always something that may happen, and someone say, hey, I'd love you to do this, can you read this, read that? So there's stuff, I'm excited about the possibility of things that may happen.
Cool. Ian?
I've just started to work on a new television series which we're filming in Prague, about which I am not allowed to say nothing, so I'm going to say a little. I have to be careful because my contract will be terminated, and probably I could, way things are these days. It's called Britannia, and it's set in ancient Britain when the Romans invaded for the second time. So there are Celts and Romans and Druids, and that's as far as I can go, really. But we're all being Celts and Romans and Druids in very nice parts of the Czech Republic. So I reckon you have to wait about a year to see the beginnings of that. But, you know, could be a new, exciting series. Let's hope.
On a personal note, my background is actually in Roman archaeology, so I am very intrigued. That sounds awesome, actually. Okay, all right, well, I know we got lots of questions, so let's pitch this out to the audience. We got a bunch of people here in mind. Yep, who's first there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's helpful if people sit down so the people behind you can see.
Sure, okay. That's great, thank you.
So, hi. Thank you for coming. My question is for Ian, and I just wanted to quickly say I love Emperor Palpatine. I love a villain who loves his work.
Thank you.
And my question for you is, since you were a part of both trilogies, from an acting perspective or a personal growth perspective or whatever perspective you want, because you're the Emperor, you can do what you want. How is it different between the two trilogies for you?
Well, the technology had advanced a great deal, which was, I mean, George was ready to do the prequels when he felt the technology was ready to take them further, and he could continue to be pioneering in the whole world of digital cinema. And I suppose the biggest difference I noticed straight away was when you do a scene, and it's called the video village, everyone instantly sees what you've done, whereas usually they have to wait a few days for the rushes, and sometimes the print has to be changed and so on. So that meant that everything could move faster, which had its advantages, but also its disadvantages, because you really had to be on the ball. But it was a great opportunity for me, as I said earlier, to explore how this person had evolved. And as you probably know, George, didn't tell me much, which was fine. You don't need to know too much. But he talked about this other character called Darth Sidious. I thought, that sounds like a really good part. I wish I could play that. And when I got the script, there was, I don't know if he was referred to it was DS or something like that. And my number, you get a number when you do a movie or a television series, 12 or something, was opposite it. And I thought, this is a mistake. So I said to the first lady, sorry, you've got me down for the first lady's DS. He said, no, that's you. And then slowly the penny dropped. But it didn't drop for a lot of people. Liam Neeson on the premiere, he said, it was you bastard, and you didn't tell me. Leave my heart in you myself. So that was why the second time was more fun than the first, but the first was more fun of all because it came out of the blue. It was supposed to be an older, probably better actor who was in the part, but he couldn't be insured because he couldn't take the rather difficult contact lens. So one lunchtime, I suddenly found myself in the middle of the Star Wars universe.
Thank you.
My question is more to Ian, but to both of you. I haven't read the book, so I don't know if this is a thing, but do you guys think you have children that you eventually have? Because there's like a theory that Rey is your granddaughter, Chancellor Palpatine, and it's an interesting theory, so.
That is a very interesting and diverse theory. Rey, is that true?
Rey from Puerto Rican. Sorry.
Okay, the second part of your question? No, I know nothing about the Palpatine relationships, really. There's a little clue in the Sith when Darth Plagueis gets mentioned. But as you probably know, in that scene, he's at the theatre, and at the theatre people overreact and get hysterical, so it probably doesn't mean anything.
Right, thank you.
My question is to Ray. When you were Darth Maul, what was the most exhilarating part when you were acting?
Oh, good question, buddy. Doing the lightsaber battles, that was a lot of fun to do. With the contact lenses in, it was hard to see. Like I would see just in front of me. So my world was the guys Liam and Ewan, and orange and blue and green. But it was a lot of fun to sort of, use something like gymnastics and wushu in a fight. And Star Wars was the first movie I saw on a big screen as a kid when I was 7, so it changed my life for me. It got me into martial arts and gymnastics. Do you practice any martial arts or gymnastics or sports?
I used to.
You used to?
Well, you've grown out of it.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey, how you doing? It's funny because I was 6 years old when The Phantom Menace came out, and my parents took me to see it open day, and Ray Park, you're actually one of my influences on why I continue to pursue martial arts. So I want to thank you for that. We all remember that scene. And for Star Wars fans out there, episode 1 is my favorite, so whatever, despite what you guys think, whatever. No, but quick question. We all remember that scene in that corridor when Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi are going, and the door opens and you're standing there with your cloak on. And how much pressure was it on you to carry that scene the way it was? Because it's probably the greatest fight scene in all the Star Wars episodes.
Thinking back, I was in the moment and enjoying it. I had Nick Gillard and Andreas Petrides around me, so I had good support. But it was the first time, for me, in my mind, whenever you see the character, I'm thinking, thank God I got to get this cloak off. Because it was pretty tricky to fight with a cloak on, and the original one was tailored beautiful. It was beautiful, but it was heavy. So they had to come up with a stun version. So when we did, when Liam and I were in the desert fighting, it was tricky. The fight had to be choreographed in a way. It had these big sleeves and it wrapping around. And I felt like the Wicked Witch of the West, like big shot of me, doing this. But to do that in battle scene and take that off and to see more, it had to be something kind of cool, Like I wanted to use the Force to bring the lightsaber into my hand. So it was like a wushu moment for me. It had to be very wushu related to me, and that was where that came out.
Thank you.
And plus Liam and Ewan they were big kids as well. They were making their lightsaber noises, so I couldn't help it. Embrace that moment. We'll keep up the training on it.
To me, in that spectacular scene is one of the best parts is when it's interrupted for the brief moment when you've got the force field and you're doing the pacing back and forth. That's just so intense and so perfect. Right there in the center of the fight scene where I love that. I just love that scene.
Originally, because I had rehearsed it with Liam and I rehearsed the fight. Thank you.
Yeah.
I rehearsed and. So the Force, he goes down into his lotus position, starts meditating. I'm like, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? And I was like, all right. So I started sliding down to box splits like Van Damme. Probably any Van Damme moment in sliding down and sitting there, and then George goes, cut. No, I don't. And that's when George came up to me and says, I want something more like like a caged animal.
And that's like a caged tiger.
Yeah, and I said, like a tiger. And he goes, yeah. And I'm the year of the tiger, so I was like, all right.
Sorry, nervous.
Don't worry, the spotlight's on you.
If you didn't get casted for Star Wars, or if you never got involved with it somehow, how would you have? What would you have done? Like, what other shows or castings? What would you have done, or everything? And how long did it take you to get into makeup and everything during the movie?
Yeah, what else would I have done? I probably just would have continued my theatre career and hoped the odd interesting movie turned up now and again. I guess that's the answer to that question. The second part of your question, the first time getting into that makeup, it was about 4 hours, likely more than that. It was very detailed. Nick Dutman was the genius responsible for it, who went on to do even greater things. He was head of creatures makeup and everything on Harry Potter, as I'm sure you know. And then he got a little easier with prequels, because they made a sort of balaclava thing. It just went over my head, and then they stuck that in. And that took about 2 hours. But they both took about 2.5 hours to get off every day. But it was, what did I have to do? I just sat there, and it was early in the morning, so I'd probably be asleep. And the guy said that was the best thing you could do. So, you know, where's the pain?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Other than Star Wars, what was your other favorite movie that you did?
Do you want to do that one? You interesting movie.
I've like, they've all been different experiences. The worst experience for me is sitting in my trailer. I like to be out there doing it, and they've all been different. With G.I. Joe, I've got to use more of my martial arts background, and Action Man, G.I. Joe were the first toys when I was like 3, 4, 5. My dad was a big kid and he had younger brothers, and they were they'd buy me Batman toys. So I grew up with like Action Man, so Snake Eyes was one of those roles that I had to go and audition for. I wanted to get this. It was like my childhood, and starting with Star Wars as well, with my two childhood things. So they've all been different. And as you get older, they change as well, and the action gets a little harder as well. You need 4 hours to warm up instead of 10 minutes. But my kids love just all the free food. They like going there, and they don't care about the movies and the camera and the action. They're like, okay, where's the biscuits and where's the chocolates and the crisps?
Where's the food truck? Yeah, that's always the first question. I suppose, like Ray, I've been lucky enough to play a lot of different kinds of parts, so that's the most interesting thing. But you mentioned Sleepy Hollow that you were in. That was great fun, mainly because of the bunch of guys I worked with who were all hysterically funny. It was very hard for us to keep a straight face. Johnny Depp was no help whatsoever. So I really liked that. And another film that was a lot of fun, The Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Michael Caine and Steve Martin. And Steve slicked me, I think I'm allowed to say this now, it was the time of the writer's strike, so be very careful. He slipped me a couple of my best lines, which I really enjoyed saying. I think I can remember what they were. Yeah, I was, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, is there anyone who hasn't seen the movie? There's a scene where this crazy person in my character's mind, played by Steve, arrives at the hotel, and I say, "Welcome to hell." Because that's what I hope I'm going to put him through. And then he wrote that line. Then later on, because my character was so irritated with his behavior, finally I just say, "Oh, shut up." And that was a good line to say, and especially to someone I knew had just written it.
You were in Dragon Slayer too, weren't you?
Sorry?
You did Dragon Slayer too.
I did.
I love that movie.
That was the first film I was almost going to say I was ever in. It's the first film I'm prepared to admit that I was in. And that was very exciting because I was incinerated by a dragon. And it was almost the case. And I was quite looking forward to it because they made a cast of my head, but I had to go through the thing in front of the camera. And they said, "Yeah, it's going to be fine. Flamethrower's just up there, just above your head. And we might do it a couple of times, no more than that. Okay, good luck." And then I looked around the studio and I saw everyone was wearing fire-protecting suits. And I was in my father, what's his name? Jack or something. Anyway, he was a deeply religious person, so I was in a deeply religious, frock. And I thought, well, I suppose I could catch fire. But it would be an interesting way to go. Anyway, they did release the flame, and it certainly was the hottest moment of my life. And they only did it twice, for obvious reasons.
When Al did a song for those Star Wars too. So what do you think about that?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get it.
When Al did the song for the Star Wars. Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, yes. Sorry, it's a world that's sort of alien to me. Speaking of an alien, so I can't really comment on it because I don't really know it. But the thing I liked about the Star Wars, and indeed about George's generosity, was that there are so many things that, you know, winged off as a result of it. And entertaining in all sorts of different ways. I say like a song, or like these comic cartoon series that have gone on. And George was always happy, you know, provided the guys knew what they were doing, to let that happen. And now, of course, that's a sort of general explosion. I think it's very nice for you to not take what you're doing entirely seriously and be able to allow yourself to be made fun of. It doesn't mean to say that the work itself is not serious and, you know, important, but it just means that we have a lighter approach to things, which I really like.
This question is for both Ian and Ray both. I wonder, given the fact that Star Wars is such a global cultural pop phenomenon, what kind of interesting or odd ways has being part of this Star Wars universe affected your lives, you know, in the most unusual or interesting ways?
I wouldn't say weird or because I'm here now and for the last 16 years, I doubled for Raiden and Mortal Kombat Annihilation before Phantom Menace. But my life is what it is because of Star Wars. The opportunities that I got, X-Men and Sleepy Hollow, and I'm sure everything else, that's because of Star Wars. Auditions that I get is because I was the bad guy, you know, Phantom Menace, and you know, they want me to do martial arts in, you know, for a short little bit in this or TV show. So I don't know. I'm very grateful for him. I'm grateful for George for, you know, allowing this 22-year-old kid squeaky around the ears, you know, be Darth Maul, and just to live my dreams. So it's been a lot of fun. I've got to travel the world. I've got to do Star Wars weekends. Got to be here. When a friend of mine, Nathan, he's one of the PAs on the set, and he says, you know, your life is going to change now. You're going to be traveling the world, going to conventions. I'm like, what's a convention? I was so used to doing martial art competitions and around other martial artists, and so I never thought I'd be doing this way back 15 years ago, and I love it. I like doing it, and I like to talk about martial arts, and if something positive can come out of me playing a bad guy, and little kids are running around wanting to be Darth Maul, but do martial arts and do something positive, then I think it's great. You know, so I was kind of worried about that.
Yeah, I suppose my life changed in all sorts of ways, some of which you could probably predict. But the great thing about Return of the Jedi was I was completely unrecognizable as me. So I could go on leading my normal, boring life, you know, unmolested, as it were, in a nice way or in a not so nice way. But the minute I was revealed to look a little bit like I did with the addition of a hairpiece in the prequels, life did change fairly considerably. But in pleasant ways, particularly, I mean, I live in London and in Scotland, but I was recognised, and that makes a difference. Of course, you want to be recognised for your work, but sometimes you do want to be recognised for yourself in the street. So it could get a little heavy at times, but by and large not, because I think the whole series, well, it's, you know, it's people like you. They respond in the kind of people who respond in a certain kind of way. And George's whole ethos is about a kind of generosity towards young people. So it's never really been a problem. Also, most of my life is spent in the theatre, and it continues to be so. So that's, in a sense, where my home is. And Star Wars is this sort of, I won't call it an additional extra, but it's this amazing, phenomenally unexpected part of my life. And it's great, I'm sure Ray feels this too, to be, as it were, in on the beginning of these kind of films, you know, which George overnight revolutionized. A lot of people think that's not for the good. I don't, because I think you can do all kinds of films at all kinds of times. And he tapped into something. And as we've recently seen with The Force Awakens, you know, those films are still tapping. And to be part of that is pretty extraordinary.
If you had one Star
Palpatine.
Yeah. Well, it would be Jar Jar Binks, isn't it?
That's a good one, I can't top. Are you He-Man? We dress up as buddy, got muscles. Ah, cool. Oh yeah. See your guns. Yeah.
First, I just want to say this is extremely surreal for me being in front of you guys.
It's surreal for me to be in front of you.
I just wanted to ask for both of you, and you, of course, first, being in the original trilogy in the pioneer days of filmmaking and seeing how everything was made on practical sets, and then going to George Lucas's way of digital filmmaking, of creating, stuff you couldn't create back then. How was it going from that sort of practical filmmaking to digital work for both of you?
Yeah. Do you want to say something? No? Well, I think of an answer. Please. It is interesting. It didn't affect me as much as it affected some of the other guys. I think because I had this very strong plot line, which we didn't reveal except everybody knew, because you're not stupid, These two people had to kill less, as one at one point. But watching the others sometimes, I used to feel a bit sorry for the younger guys, you and Natalie and Hayden, because and they're all very skillful actors, and also the two guys, I dare say Natalie too, I don't know, were very skillful fighters, swordsmen, like Ray. And quite often they didn't know what they were fighting. They were just fighting a green screen or a blue screen. And of course, we use our imagination the whole time. We don't need to have you there to contact you. We can imagine you're there and contact you. But if you don't know what's coming at you, for example, Ewan would maybe be oppressed by some terrible force, and he wouldn't know whether this was occasion to shrug it off or to take it really seriously because it was a matter of life and death. And those kind of things for an actor can be quite hard. So you try it several ways, and then you just have to surrender to the editing. And then if you see a bit later on, and you think, oh my God, if I'd known that was coming at me, I would have reacted and acted in a completely different way. So in that way, digital technology initially settled on is disempowering. So in the sense, I know that Ewan felt this particularly, sometimes he was making a few steps forward, but more steps backward as a result of that. But it's exciting, and the thing is, there seems to be a kickback now to people who want to make films, as opposed to digital experiences, but there's room for everything. I mean, I've just done a film that was shot entirely non-digitally. It's called The Lost City of Zed, and it ends the New York Film Festival, so it'll be with you soon. And James Gray, who wrote and directed it, is very much a pioneer of, I wouldn't want to call it the old school, but that way of doing it. But that's his choice, and that's his taste. And when we see the movie, I dare say we'll see why. But then we'll have the latest blockbuster adventure where lots of things are recreated later, and that will have its own excitement. But I suppose if actors had to choose, they would like a situation where they feel they're in the most control. Of course, when you're making movies as an actor, you're not in control, and the whole point is, sorry, I keep doing that. The whole point is to surrender what you're doing to that box, which is then taken away and edited. That's what you do. Whereas on stage, you can do it different whenever you like, every night. So I suppose at the end of the day, I'm going to sound a little imperial now, I prefer stage work because you have more power.
What was it like for you, Ian, when you stepped into the role as Emperor psychologically? And for a little background for Darth Plagueis, there was a book called Plagueis. I didn't know if you read it or how you enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was very interesting. The thing about all these books, as you know, they're all interesting, very good, but they spin in different directions. and you can't really, when you're playing him, allow that to affect you because it's a sort of different world. It might be a world that's recreated later by the great, ever-expanding Lucasfilm Disney industry. But of course, I didn't even know what part I was going to play when I was offered it. I met George and Richard Markham, the director of Return of the Jedi, as you know, briefly for 10 minutes over lunch, and we had a chat about, I don't know, the weather or something, but it wasn't anything to do with a particular role. And then I got back and my agent phoned and said, "You've got the part?" I said, "What part?" He said, "Oh, it's the Emperor of the Universe." And I said, "Oh, well, I guess we'll be doing it then." And then slowly I discovered who this person was through makeup and costume, and a little help from George. But on that very first day, the first scene I filmed was him coming down the steps to confront endless stormtroopers, a couple of actors, and Vader. And I hadn't seen the set or them before I did it, and I was in these contact lenses which were, you can only see straight ahead, not at the side. And Dave Tomlin was a wonderful first AD. He said, "Ian, we're just going to rehearse, but there are a lot of steps, a lot of people, you're experienced. There's a couple of marks down there, good luck." So I went into literally this completely unknown universe in every sense. I'd opened my mouth to say the lines, and of course Dave Prowse was up there saying his lines, but I couldn't hear him. And anyway, I think I was imagining how they would sound through the great James Earl Jones's voice. So that was my introduction to the Imperial world. But looking back on it, I wouldn't have had it any other way. It was just so exciting. And I was concentrating then, most of all, not to fall down those stairs. And I kept thinking, well, I'm really old, so I can go really slowly. And George said, "That's great, Ian, thank you. Could you go a bit faster?"
Guys, I hate to do it, but on that note, we are out of time. We're going to have to wrap it up. But if you have any questions, please come visit these guys at their booths.